Hello everybody, here we are today talking about the Arizona Coyotes and their future in the state of Arizona. So before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or if you're new to hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So yesterday, many sources claimed that the Arizona Coyotes could be in their final days as a franchise and be moving to another city in just a matter of weeks, if not months. And that was a huge talking point. What's even more wild is the fact the NHL may not even be upset that this is happening. We're going to be talking about that a bit later in this video, but we're going to be kicking it off with how this all began. The Coyotes started playing in 1996 in Arizona, and unfortunately, they've never had a stable home. Nothing that really screams, this is my city, this is my state, this is my brand, we are all unified here. And now they are playing in a stadium that holds less than 5,000 people, as Alex Morello is their owner. He's kind of just doing the best he can at the moment as they try to figure out a stadium solution. And they play, again, in something that's a minor league stadium for a lot of teams in terms of size. I go to Indy Field games from time to time as I live in Indiana, and Pepsi Coliseum at the moment where they play is definitely holding more than 5,000 people. And the new stadium that they're building for the field, which is an ECHL team, is going to be on the northeast side of the city, I believe, and it's going to hold something like 6,700 people. So it's just making the best of a bad situation, because at the end of the day, for the Coyotes, if you're hoping to be able to keep the team in the state of Arizona, any place in the state is better than no place. Doesn't matter if it's a place where you have 10 people that can go and sit and watch in a 10-person stadium. As long as Sidney Crosby, Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, and Nathan MacKinnon walk through those doors and play games, that's really what it's all about. So with the team facing a lot of instability in recent years, especially with, are they going to be in the state? Are they going to be out of the state? Why are we so concerned? Because it seems like they always find a little bit of time to buy to be able to stay in the Copper State. Well, that's because the NHL has reportedly had two schedules that they've made for this upcoming season, the 2024-2025 campaign, where the Coyotes are either in Arizona or Salt Lake City. Now, this is where things get interesting. We've talked before on here multiple times in videos. The Utah Jazz owner, Ryan Smith, is a billionaire that owns the Jazz, but he also owns Real Salt Lake, which is an MLS club, and he is looking aggressively to try to get a team there. We've seen it on a lot of different media sources where he keeps saying, I want a team here, I want a team here, I want a team here. And the NHL seems to probably be kind of enticed with the idea of having him take on this team. You see a billionaire that has already one franchise that they can own that's a high-end thing. MLS is growing rapidly from what I know, and you can kind of see where this all comes together. Pair that with the fact that the state of Utah is also in talks of a bill about possibly building a baseball stadium to try to get an MLB team, and you can see where all these things are heading. It's getting so aggressive that at this point, Smith actually went online yesterday to talk about team names for a future team, which kind of gives you the indication that he feels at some point he will have an NHL team. And at the moment, it kind of feels like he's all right having that be a Arizona Coyotes side that has to move up north to Salt Lake. Now, speaking of team names, you're looking at this and saying, well, what's going to happen with the Coyotes? Are they going to be the Utah Coyotes? Seemingly, possibly not, as Morello is going to probably keep the logo and the naming rights for the team, with them trying to be able to get a new stadium for a future expansion side. From what my understanding is of this, Utah would probably come up with their own team name, and they would, of course, probably go with their own colors. And the Yotes are going to be able to keep their stuff if they're able to find a stadium in the coming years, because that's just something that you would probably look forward to if you're able to keep that brand going, if that's what you're looking for. And I guess if you're a fan of the Coyotes, that is a positive in a week where maybe there's not going to be a lot of positives, is this is just getting weird. So to be honest, there are probably three situations which we're seeing here that'll play out, which is the fact that, number one, the Coyotes are going to be able to keep the team and keep things going, find a long-term home. June 27th, they have a land bid they're going to try to do, and if they win that, the possibility of them staying in Arizona definitely goes up quite a bit. But of course, who knows who all is going to be there, who knows what that land's going to be used for, and you have to wonder if they lose that, what are their options are there going to be. So that's like the dream scenario. June 27th, they go out there and they get the team. Now the second option is that the team moves to Salt Lake in this season, or after the end of this season, and they go out there and it's the end of this version of the Coyotes as we know it. The third option is what we've heard is them keeping the team in Arizona for this season, seeing if they win the land bid, and with there not being a whole lot of time, saying you can play one more year in the mullet and just stay there before Utah kind of gets ready for you. And those are three scenarios that seem most likely at the moment. From what we're hearing too as well, Smith and everybody involved with this possible Utah hockey team will be trying to get them in a temporary stadium as they could possibly build a dual purpose stadium. I don't know how old the Jazz stadium is. I don't really keep up with basketball, so I couldn't really tell you if it's up to date or not, or if it's really old. If it's really old and you're looking to just get two teams, might as well put them in the same building, right? But you have to kind of wonder if that's going to be something that they push for, and if the baseball team is going to be something that they try to get to, because from what I understand about baseball, they haven't had an expansion side in a long time. But in the future, there's so many things to kind of get from this. I think that if Utah does get the team and Amarillo ends up getting a possibility of a stadium, we will be looking at further expansion in the National Hockey League, and all of this just kind of makes sense in the short term. The Coyotes, unfortunately, have kind of been a headache on the league as they can't find a home. They are a side that isn't, the money maker that some other teams are by any means, and you have this billionaire owner saying, come on, I'll give you some money, we'll get this team up here, we'll get them in a state-of-the-art stadium and build this into a totally different brand and put all that bad stuff behind us. And if you are Gary Bettman, that's not a bad thing. And if you can actually get the Coyotes out of all this to get this brand new state-of-the-art stadium in the next few years, and they get to keep their team name, and you keep that market in Arizona, you're probably happy about that as well. Now, next question with all this is if they do move, how quickly will it be? I've heard as early as April 18th they will release the news, but I think that is very rushed. Their final game would be April 17th, so it'd be so wild to imagine them a day after all this just saying, yep, we're done, we're going, we're moving to Utah. And I think, if I'm kind of being honest here, why I do feel like the possibility is dying of keeping the Coyotes in the desert, the scenario that I see most likely at the moment, in my eyes, again, I'm not an expert, is them waiting, keeping them there another year, seeing if they win the land bid at Mullet Arena, and then going from there and probably ending up in Utah. What's going to happen here in the next few years for the NHL, we probably aren't aware, as there are so many things you wouldn't expect when you were a fan of the league in the 80s and 90s, etc. So I couldn't really tell you in 10 years if we're going to have 34 teams, 36 teams, whatever the case may be. But I do know, unfortunately for Arizona fans, time may be running out, and you probably want to be able to get your tickets and enjoy these last few games if this really is the end. And I hate to see that, because again, this is where you think back to when you were growing up, where you're a fan of the game, or if you're just somebody to get into it when you're older, you have a lot of core memories. I remember going to a lot of minor league baseball games with my dad because he was a really big baseball fan, and it didn't really matter, I guess, in the moment, because I was such a young kid that I could care less who won or who lost. I just enjoyed being there with my dad. But there's just a lot of memories that I think people have built here, and I know people say, well, hockey's never thrived in the state. I don't really think that's totally the case. I think that if they had a better stadium and the product on the ice was a lot better, they would have much more of a reason to be involved in this. But we're going to see everything that transpires here, as I never want to see a new team formed because another team is non-existent, and we're just at a spot where it does look like Utah is probably getting a team one way or the other. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this? I ended up holding off on doing this for a day just because I was waiting for something else to come out and be like, yeah, that's not true. But the league basically said no comment to all this. From what I've read, a lot of the other things that I've watched. So if they're saying no comment, that just probably means they're put in a spot where they don't want to make a commitment one way or the other. And I'd really like to know if you think this is going to happen this season especially, and what all will come, whether or not Arizona will get an expansion side. That's it for me today. It is going to be me getting out of here. Big day for my family, as I'm a first-time uncle, baby born today. Can't wait to get him a little hockey t-shirt. Don't exactly know what we're going to do. Probably going to get him a Canucks shirt or something like that. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I had some really fun uncles growing up and had a good time with a lot of family members when I was a kid, getting to spend time with them. So hopefully this is how it works with this. Anyway though, everybody please make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And good love hockey, alright. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.